Good morning to all. Today's class is ventricles of brain. So, a specific learning objective of the session is to know about the location of brain ventricles, to understand their relation with other important structure, and to understand the applied anatomy of different ventricles. What are the content of the session? Introduction, lateral ventricle, third ventricle, fourth ventricle, then blood supply of ventricles. What are the circumventricular organs? Then we have to see CSF flow direction, and in the last, applied anatomy. First, so what is ventricles? So ventricles are the series of cavities within the interior of brain. Okay. Now these are three cavities. In forebrain, a pair of lateral ventricle. In midbrain, there is a cerebral aqueduct, and in hindbrain, there is this one, fourth ventricle. In forebrain, a pair of lateral ventricle, one in each hemisphere, cerebral hemisphere. One median cavity will be there, that is third ventricle, and each lateral ventricle open into third ventricle through interventricular foramen. So you are able to see this section here. This is the lateral ventricle, which is opening into the third ventricle. So lateral ventricle is opening into third ventricle via interventricular foramen. Okay, interventricular foramen of Monro. Now this third ventricle is opening, continuing via cerebral aqueduct into the fourth ventricle. Okay, so ventricles are, there are two lateral ventricle, one third ventricle, then one fourth ventricle. Okay, and each part of the developing brain has a different cavities. So if somebody asks you what is the cavity of hindbrain, it is fourth ventricle. What is cavity of midbrain? It is cerebral aqueduct. What are the cavities of forebrain? So two lateral ventricle and one third ventricle. Sorry. So entire ventricular system is lined by an epithelial layer that is called ependyma. Okay. Now first lateral ventricle. So here you are able to see this is left side lateral ventricle. This is a right side lateral ventricle. Okay. So sorry. So two cerebral hemisphere. There are two lateral ventricle. Here this is left and this is right side. Okay. So two lateral ventricle are there. Each lateral ventricle is in C-shaped cavity. Okay, within each cerebral hemisphere. Now each lateral ventricle communicate with third ventricle. Okay, I told you here was the location of, this is the third ventricle. So this lateral ventricle is communicating via the interventricular foramen of Monro into the third ventricle. Okay, so this is, again you see, this is lateral ventricle, and this will be continuing with the third ventricle. Fine. Now each lateral ventricle is divided into four parts. So one is central part or body, then there is anterior horn, there is posterior horn, there is inferior horn. So the place where the body, the posterior horn and the inferior horn meet, that is known as atrium or trigone. Fine. So here you can see this is anterior horn, this is posterior horn, this is inferior horn, and this part is body. So each of these parts of lateral ventricle will see in detail. So first is body or the central part, this part. Okay. So this is lies within the parietal lobe. It extends from interventricular foramen here, interventricular foramen in front to splenium here. Okay, splenium of corpus callosum. So in coronal section, it is triangular in shape. You are able to see this is triangular in shape. So it is having a floor, it is having a roof, it is having medial wall, and okay. So this is triangular, this is roof, this is medial wall, and this is floor. Fine. Now, so here you see the floor is formed by, from lateral to medial, by body of caudate nucleus, then stria terminalis, then thalamostriate vein, and then thalamus. So they will be asking you in 2 marks question, who does form the floor of the body of the lateral ventricle? So it is caudate nucleus, stria terminalis, thalamostriate vein, and this is thalamus. Okay. Then second one is roof. So here is the roof. This is formed by the roof is formed by the body of corpus callosum, and then medial wall. This is the medial wall. This is formed by the septum pellucidum. Okay. So again I am telling, this is the coronal section of central part or body having a roof, medial wall, and this is floor. Okay. Then another one is anterior horn. So this one is anterior horn, as I shown you earlier. This is anterior horn. This is anterior horn. Okay. So anterior horn is extension of central part into frontal lobe. So this is frontal lobe. So this central part is extending into the frontal lobe. It lies in front of interventricular foramen. Okay. So you see here. Here is the interventricular foramen, so it is lying in front of that. Okay, so it lies in front of interventricular foramen and behind posterior surface of genu of corpus callosum. So if you see here, here is the location of corpus callosum. Okay, so in here will be the location of genu of corpus callosum. Okay, so anterior horn. Now what are the boundaries? So it will be having a roof, then a floor, then there will be an anterior wall. Okay, so and there will be lateral wall. Okay, so you see here roof is formed by the anterior part of body of corpus callosum. Then floor, so floor is formed by the rostrum of the corpus callosum. Okay, then anterior wall is formed by genu of corpus callosum. Okay, then who is forming the medial wall? Septum pellucidum. This is the septum pellucidum, which is forming the medial wall, and lateral wall is formed by the head of the caudate nucleus. Okay, so here is the lateral wall, this is the medial wall, this is the roof. Anterior wall will be here. This will be the anterior wall, and this will be the floor. Okay, so I will show you this diagram again. So here you see, this will be the roof, this will be anterior wall, this will be floor. Okay, so anterior wall here will be formed by genu of corpus callosum. The floor will be formed by here. You can see the floor is formed by the rostrum of corpus callosum. Okay, medial wall is formed by the septum pellucidum, and lateral wall is formed by head of caudate nucleus. Okay, then posterior horn. So this is the posterior horn. Posterior horn is backward here. It is backward extension of central part into occipital lobe. Okay, so in coronal section it is having this medial wall, then having the lateral wall, then having the roof, and then having the, okay, just a second, this is a mistake. So this is the roof, this is the lateral wall, this is the floor, and this thing is medial wall. Okay, now medial wall consists of 2 parts. Okay, one is upper part and this is lower part. So upper part is known as bulb of posterior horn, which is formed by forceps major of corpus callosum. Okay, and the lower one, this one is formed by calcar avis, which is formed by the calcarine sulcus. Okay, so here this is calcar avis, and here is the bulb of posterior horn. So this bulb is formed by the forceps major of corpus callosum, and this is formed by the calcarine sulcus. Okay, so this is medial wall. Now this is, here is the roof, here is the lateral wall, here is the floor. They all are formed by tapetum. Okay, tapetum are the fibers passing through the corpus callosum. Okay, this is posterior horn. Again I am showing, this is posterior horn. It is backward extension into the occipital lobe. Okay, now inferior horn. So inferior horn, when you see inferior horn, as I told you, this is the inferior horn. So inferior horn is extension into the temporal lobe. Okay, so in coronal section it is appearing as transverse slit. You can see here. So it is having a floor and it is having a roof. So roof, here the roof is formed lateral part by the tail of the caudate nucleus and stria terminalis, and here lateral part by the tapetum of corpus callosum. Okay, then floor is formed medially by hippocampus and laterally by collateral eminence. Okay, so these are the boundaries of the inferior horn. Okay, then choroid plexus and choroid fissure of lateral ventricle. So first thing, what is choroid fissure? It is the space between fornix and upper surface of thalamus. Okay, so here space will be there, that is, you can see this space. So this is choroid fissure. What is stela choroidea? So stela choroidea is a fold of pyometer. You can see here a fold of pyometer which is invaginating into ventricle. So this is the ventricle. You can see this blue color. Within this fold of pyometer is invaginating. So this fold of pyometer which is invaginating, it is known as stela choroidea. And third thing is, what is choroid plexus? So it is vascularized stela choroidea. That means it is tuft of capillaries within the pyometer. Okay, you are seeing this red color. These are the capillaries. So capillaries plus the stela choroidea combinedly known as choroid plexus. Okay, so here is the choroid plexus of lateral ventricle. So this is a lateral ventricle, this is a lateral ventricle, and here is the third ventricle. Okay, so you can see here left side lateral ventricle which is continuing here with the third ventricle. So again you see this, what is choroid fissure, what is stela choroidea, what is choroid plexus. Okay, then third ventricle. Now third ventricle is cavity of diencephalon. Okay, so here this is the cavity of diencephalon. It is a midline slit-like cavity. Okay, this is the midline slit-like cavity between two thalamus. Okay, so it is extending from here, lamina terminalis, to this part. This is known as upper end of cerebral aqueduct of midbrain. Okay, it is lined by ciliated corner epithelium, that is ependyma, and it is traversed here by mass of gray matter which is known as interthalamic adhesion connecting the two thalami. Okay, outline of cavity is irregular due to presence of several. Here you can see recess. Here is one recess, here is another recess. I will tell in detail about these recesses. Okay, now communication of third ventricle. So anteriorly on each side it is communicating with the lateral ventricle via interventricular foramen of Monro. Okay, and posteriorly it is communicating with the fourth ventricle via cerebral aqueduct of Sylvius. Okay, now what are the boundaries? So boundary, you see, this is anterior wall, here is the posterior wall, then here will be the roof, here will be the floor, then what you are seeing, that will be the lateral wall. Okay, so now you see here anterior wall. So anterior wall, three structures will be there. So what are those? First one will be here, that is anterior column of fornix. Second one is anterior commissure. Third one is lamina terminalis. Then here is the posterior wall. It is formed by, from above downwards, first is this is pineal gland, then here will be the posterior commissure, and then commencement or the beginning of the cerebral aqueduct. Okay, so that is anterior and the posterior wall. Now roof. So roof is formed by the ependyma here, that is stretches across the upper limit of two thalami. So here this is forming the roof. And floor. So floor is formed here. First is optic chiasma, then tuber cinereum and infundibulum, then here will be the mammillary body, then posterior perforated, these dot dot dot, these are the posterior perforated substance, and here this part is tegmentum of midbrain. So that are those are the roof and floor of third ventricle. Then the last one is the lateral wall. So it is marked by here this sulcus, that is known as hypothalamic sulcus, which extend between the interventricular foramen to upper end of cerebral aqueduct. Okay, so this sulcus dividing the larger upper part formed by the medial surface of anterior 2/3 of thalamus and the smaller lower part that is formed by hypothalamus and continues with the ventricular floor. Okay, so that is the lateral wall. Now what are the recesses of the third ventricle? So here you can see this cavity of third ventricle is extending into surrounding structure. I have numbered here 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So it is extending into the nearby structure as pocket-like protrusion, that is called recess. So these are 5 in number. First one is infundibular recess here. So this infundibular recess is deep tunnel-shaped recess extending downward through the tuber cinereum into infundibulum. Okay, that is stalk of pituitary gland. Then another one is optic or chiasmatic recess. So that is angular recess situated at junction of anterior wall and floor of ventricle just above the optic chiasma here. Okay, now the next one, the anterior recess. Okay, so here is anterior recess. It is triangular recess extending in front of interventricular foramen to anterior commissure. Okay, this is the location of anterior recess. Then there is supraspinal recess here. This fourth number is supraspinal recess. It is blind diverticulum extending above stalk of pineal gland and below tilia choroidea here. Okay, so that is supraspinal recess. Suprapineal recess, and the fifth one is pineal recess here. So it is a small diverticulum extending posteriorly between superior and inferior lamina of stalk of pineal gland. So 5 recesses are there. First is infundibular recess, second optic or chiasmatic recess, then there is anterior recess, then suprapineal recess and pineal recess. Fine. Then here also choroid plexus and tila choroidea of third ventricle. So tila choroidea is here. Again I am repeating, tila choroidea is pia mater, okay, which is invaginating into the cavity of the ventricle, and choroid plexus is the tuft of capillaries along with the tila choroidea. Okay, so choroid plexus of third ventricle is hanging like this here as a longitudinal anterior-posterior vascular fringes. Okay, so that is choroid plexus and tila choroidea of third ventricle. Now the fourth ventricle. So fourth ventricle is tent-like. Can you see this tent-like here? So it is tent-like cavity of hindbrain lined with ependyma and filled with CSF. Okay. Now it is situated in the posterior cranial fossa and in front of, this is cerebellum. So it is lying in front of cerebellum and behind pons and upper part of medulla. In sagittal section, okay, this is sagittal section. So it is triangular in outline, and in horizontal section it is rhomboidal in shape. Okay, so communication inferiorly here. Inferiorly it is communicating with central canal of medulla oblongata, and then it is continuing as the central canal of spinal cord, and superiorly it is continuous via the cerebral aqueduct with the third ventricle. Okay. Now here is the roof. It possesses 3 important openings which permit the CSF to escape from the ventricular system of brain to subarachnoid space. So I will explain about those 3 openings also. Now boundaries of fourth ventricle, lateral boundaries. So you see here inferolaterally, so by inferior cerebellar peduncle. Okay, here you can see inferolaterally on 2 sides. Okay, inferolaterally, inferiorly and laterally. That is, boundaries are inferior cerebellar peduncle, and there here will be the gracile and cunate tubercle. Okay, and superolaterally here it is by superior cerebellar peduncle. So this is superior cerebellar peduncle. Here is inferior cerebellar peduncle, gracile and cunate tubercle. Okay. Now roof. Okay. So roof means you can see here this diagram. This is the roof. Okay, this is the roof. So a roof is tent shape. Apex of tent extend posteriorly into cerebellum. Okay, I have shown you it is extending into the cerebellum. Upper part formed by thin sheet of white matter here. Okay, so it will be formed by the thin sheet of white matter that is known as superior medullary vellum, that is stretching between 2 superior cerebellar peduncles. Okay, here. So I will show you here. So there will be, this is connecting the 2 superior cerebellar peduncle, that is known as superior medullary vellum. Okay, in lower part it is formed by thin sheet of non-nervous tissue. So here will be something known as inferior medullary vellum. Okay, So this inferior medullary velum is non-nervous tissue. It is formed by the ventricular ependyma and pia mater. Now this is perforated by three openings, one midline slit here. So this is known as median aperture, that is foramen of Magendie, for communicating with the subarachnoid space of cerebellomedullary system. And two lateral openings are here on either side. These are lateral aperture. These are known as foramen of Luschka. Okay, so these are connecting with the subarachnoid space in the region of cerebellopontine angle. Okay, through these three openings, as I mentioned earlier, one is median aperture, that is foramen of Magendie. Here, this is foramen of Magendie, and two lateral aperture, that is foramen of Luschka. So that is for passage of the fluid, okay, from the ventricular system to subarachnoid space. Okay, now floor. This is what you are seeing. This is floor, or you can see here, this is floor. Okay, this is floor. So when you see the floor, it is formed by posterior surface of pons and upper part of medulla. I have shown you already the posterior surface of pons and upper part of medulla, and it is a rhomboid in shape, that is diamond shape. You can see here, this is a diamond shape. So floor, that is why the floor of fourth ventricle is known as rhomboid fossa. It is divisible into two parts. This is upper triangular part and below is lower triangular part. Okay, so it is bounded on each side by superior cerebellar peduncle. So here it is bounded by superior cerebellar peduncle, and the lower triangular part is bounded by superior cerebellar peduncle and the gracile and cunate tubercle. Fine. Now, then here when you see this rhomboid fossa, so first thing you will see, there is a median sulcus. Okay, this is a median sulcus. This is extending from aperture of aqueduct, okay, from above, that is aperture of aqueduct of midbrain to beginning of central canal. Okay, so here this is the median sulcus. Okay, here is the median sulcus. So that is dividing the floor into right and left symmetrical half. Then second one is istria medullaris. So istria medullaris is here, like this. So these are the white fibers crossing through the floor. These are derived from the arcuate nuclei, emerge from median sulcus, run transversely across floor to enter into inferior cerebellar peduncle. So they are coming here from the arcuate nuclei of the medulla, and they are reaching into the inferior cerebellar peduncle. Then medial eminence. So in the midline there is median sulcus. On either side of median sulcus, you are able to see some eminence, that is known as medial eminence. So these are longitudinal elevation on either side of median sulcus. Then what is sulcus limitans? So lateral to the medial eminence, there is a sulcus present, that is known as sulcus limitans. So remember three things. In the midline there is a sulcus, that is median sulcus. On either side of median sulcus, two elevations are there, that is known as medial eminence, and on lateral side of the medial eminence there is sulcus limitans. Now what is vestibular area? So here you see this region, so region lateral to sulcus limitans at lateral angle of floor. Okay, so this will be known as vestibular area, the region lateral to sulcus limitans at lateral angle of floor. And what is it overlying? It is overlying the vestibular nucleus. Then superior fovea. So here this is triangular depression at upper end of the sulcus limitans. I told you this is median sulcus, then medial eminence, then sulcus limitans. So upper end of sulcus limitans is known as superior fovea. Okay, then locus coeruleus. Okay, so it is a bluish gray area here, a bluish gray area above the superior fovea. It is formed due to flattening of sulcus limitans, and it is bluish color is due to underlying group of nerve cells which contain the melanin pigment. Okay, then what is substantia ferruginea? So this is formed due to the nerve cells containing the melanin pigment. Okay, so locus coeruleus is the bluish area which is actually containing the substantia ferruginea. Then inferior fovea. So here you see it is a small depression at the lowermost part of sulcus limitans. So uppermost part of sulcus limitans is superior fovea, and lowermost depression at the lowermost part of the sulcus limitans is inferior fovea. Okay, then facial colliculus. So here you are seeing oval swelling in the pontine part of the floor at level of superior fovea. Okay, here you are able to see. So these are known as facial colliculus. Why they are produced? They are produced by fibers from motor nucleus of facial nerves hooking around abducent nucleus. That is internal genu of the facial nerve. Now, from inferior fovea, sulcus limitans descend obliquely towards median sulcus. You can see here from inferior fovea. So this sulcus limitans is descending towards the median sulcus. Okay. So sulcus divides medial eminence. So here this sulcus dividing the medial eminence into the two triangle. So above there will be one triangle, lower one also one triangle. So above triangle is known as hypoglossal triangle and lower triangle is known as vagal triangle. Again I repeat everything. So this is the medial sulcus, then medial eminence, then this is sulcus limitans, here is superior fovea, here is inferior fovea, this is facial colliculus, this is locus coeruleus, this is a vestibular area. This inferior fovea is going towards the median sulcus, and here above one triangle is there, that is hypoglossal triangle, below is vagal triangle. Okay, now blood supply of ventricles. So lateral and third ventricle is supplied by anterior choroidal and branches of posterior choroidal arteries, and it is venous drainage is by choroidal vein. Fourth ventricle is supplied by posterior inferior cerebral artery, and venous drainage is from basal veins. Okay, then what is circumventricular organ? So these are the organ with no blood-brain barrier. Here more tenocytes will be there, and here the ependyma is flat with few cilia. What are the example of circumventricular organ? So pineal gland, area postrema, median eminence, neurophysis, okay, neurohypophysis, organum vasculosum, and subfornical organ. So these are the area with no blood-brain barrier. Okay. Then what is the direction of CSF flow? So here you can see, first from heart the blood is coming, the blood is reaching either to lateral ventricle's choroid plexus, then third ventricle's choroid plexus, or fourth ventricle's choroid plexus. Okay, as I already told you, choroid plexus is the vascularized choroidea. So you see here, so from lateral ventricle the CSF will go to here. From lateral ventricle it will go to the third ventricle via interventricular foramina. Okay, from third ventricle it will go to fourth ventricle via cerebral aqueduct. From fourth ventricle via lateral and median aperture. Remember, the median aperture was foramen of Magendie, and lateral aperture was foramen of Lutschka. So it will go to subarachnoid space. From subarachnoid space it will go to arachnoid villi of dural venous sinus, and then the venous blood will be taken via heart and blood. Okay, so you can see here is the lateral ventricle. From lateral ventricle it is coming to the third ventricle. From third ventricle it is coming cerebral aqueduct, then fourth ventricle, then here the median and the lateral aperture, then it is going via the dural venous sinus. Okay, then again it is coming back. Okay, then how you will visualize the ventricles? So ventricles can be visualized by either pneumoencephalography, that is CSF is replaced with air through lumbar puncture. Okay, so via lumbar puncture the air is introduced in place of CSF, okay, to replace the CSF. Then ventriculography, the CSF is replaced with air directly, and third is myelography, that is CSF is replaced with iodopac. Okay, so you can see this is lateral ventricle, here also lateral ventricle. Okay, then what is the applied anatomy? First is tumor of fourth ventricle. These are two tumor example, one is medulloblastoma, another one is ependymoma. Okay, Medulloblastoma is most common tumor. It arises from poorly differentiated primitive neuroectodermal cells. Okay, it occurs in children, highly malignant, produce sign and symptom of cerebral lesion. So it may press upon the vital centers which are located in the floor of fourth ventricle. So it can cause cardiac regulatories, tachycardia, or irregular respiration or vasomotor disturbance. Another tumor is ependymoma, which arises from proliferation of ependymal cells. It may cause obstructions to flow of CSF, which may lead to the formation of internal hydrocephalus. Then what is hydrocephalus? Hydrocephalus may be due to increased production of CSF, blockage of CSF flow, or diminished absorption of CSF. Okay, it can be internal, which is due to obstructive cause, or external due to non-obstructive cause. Okay, so another thing is the Dandy-Walker malformation. It is a congenital brain malformation involving cerebellum and fluid-like space around it. Okay, so here what will be happening? There will be enlargement of the fourth ventricle and complete absence of cerebellar vermis. Okay, so here you will be seeing that there will be fourth ventricle completely absent. Okay, enlarged. There will be absence of cerebellar vermis. Fine. Then what is Chiari malformation? So here you can see the medulla and the tonsils of cerebellum come to lie in the vertebral canal. So aperture in the fourth ventricle are blocked. So here, what are the aperture? I told you the median aperture was foramen of Magendie and lateral aperture was foramen of Luschka. So they will be blocked, leading to obstruction of CSF flow and internal hydrocephalus will be there. So because of that, cranial nerves arising from medulla will be stretched. It is a congenital anomaly. It can be associated with syringomyelia. Okay. And what can be types of Chiari malformation? It can be type 1, type 2, type 3 and type 4. Among that, type 2 is known as Arnold Chiari malformation. Okay. So these are the different type of Chiari malformation. Okay. Thank you. And this is the class. Okay. Thank you.